Hey, what's good everyone? Welcome to part 3 of this tutorial. Hopefully you finished part 2 already. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to these people on the screen here for always leaving a comment. And also shout out to everyone who leaves a comment. I know there's much more than these people, but... And we just hit 300 subscribers. Yes, sir. Clap it up, clap it up. So again, thank you guys for subscribing, and the next goal is 500 subs. So yeah, if you are enjoying these videos, don't forget to just share them out to your friends, family, pets, imaginary friends, whoever. Let's keep this channel growing. Follow me on Instagram as well. If you have any questions, you can just DM me on there and I'll try to reply. And yeah, without any further ado, we can get started. Open up the blender seeds. Let's go. So let's move all of these extras into a new collection. So let's select them. So the ball object, the outsole ball object, and then the curve that we made for it. And let's go M, new collection, and let's call it extras. There we go. So now it's separating its own collection, so we can hide them all together. So now let's bring back the front view, or the lateral view. Lines up pretty well. Yeah, that looks so good. Let's bring in the front and back view. So I'm gonna go, just make sure it lines up. It looks pretty good, to be honest. Again, it's probably a good idea to bring all the reference images in at the same time, which I didn't do. But so let's go 3 and then 9. So 3 is side view, 9 is to flip the side view, so you see the back. So now let's just move this to the side a little bit. Move a bit more, something like that. Just put it somewhere on the right. So it's made the little tab, the little rectangle. So let me just move this side, don't select it. So let's go Shift A, bring in the plane, rotate 90 degrees along the Y, and we're going to scale it down. Actually, let's bring it over to the reference image. Let's put it behind it, just so we kind of get the right scale first before we move it back. So it's about that size. Let's move it back over. So we want it to be following the curve there, as you can see, the curve of the kind of the night tick, or the, I don't know what you call that. So let's just add the loop cut there. Let's Control B to add the bevel. Turn on portion editing, select the middle, and let's just bring it up just until it's kind of matching the curve, something like that. Let's turn these up a little bit, so we get something like this. Not bad. Let's add a loop cut, a bunch of them in the middle, just to give us more points to edit. And let's bring it forward. Press period to come close to it. Let's bring it a bit closer. And we're just going to basically kind of position it correctly. So let's move these in. Obviously use portion editing. Make your life a bit easier. Bring it back out. We just wanted to follow the curve of the shoe, basically. So you could basically follow the night tick, the upper, or the heel. It's really up to you. Okay. So we can bring a bit. So you get something like this. That you want to do. Bring it forward. And all you got to do is just kind of tweak little areas here and there until you get something that you're happy with. So something like this doesn't look too bad. And then let's select this part, bring it in, bring the top bit in. It's looking good. Let's go on the side view now, or front view, sorry. And I want to go over the shoe, over this part, so we're going to extrude it there. And then select this edge here and press Ctrl B to add the bevel. Lift up a little bit, just to make it a bit more smooth. Let's kind of fix this side, it's kind of clipping a little bit. Again, just kind of tweak a little bit here and there till you get something that you're happy with. That's good. Let's maybe pull this out a tiny bit, something like that. That looks pretty good. Press W, shade smooth. And let's add a solidify to it, give it some thickness. Let's go inwards. Something like that. Looks pretty good. Let's go down here, turn on the normals. You can see it looks much better now. There we go. So it's matching up. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's just check dice, everything there. Obviously, you can kind of tweak with it till you get something that you like. So I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. Just kind of get it to your liking. Something like that. So let's move on to the toe box. Alright, so let's bring in the plane. Let's rotate along the X. And we're just gonna extrude it like we did with the heel, basically. I feel like that's the best way. So let's just position it here, kind of scale it down a little bit. Then we can bring these up like so. And then we can just extrude it out a bunch of times. Just rotate a bit. About there, something like that. And let's extrude it going backwards as well. Let's add about 2 here, since there's a curve going on. Let's extrude again. And then we're going to extrude it going up, like so. Let's move this back. There we go. So you get something like this, basically. Let's move this along the Y, and we're gonna just shape it basically from the top view, because it's looking a bit flat right now. So let's go back into top view. And then let's just extrude out. Something like that. Let's leave kind of the back here. We can just select it. And then we can duplicate it. So let's go top view, shift D. And then let's flip along the Y. So SY -1. Again, if you want to flip anything, just scale it by -1 along whatever axis you want it to flip on. So let's leave it there. And then we're just going to extrude this and then join them up. So top view again, extrude out, kind of bring them down, and then we're going to make a face. So select these and make a face, press F. Select all this bottom one, press scale Z 0 just to flatten them all. There we go. Let's go F2 and rename it to toe. Let's go toe box. Let's go W and shade smooth. And we just want to line it up now, basically. Use the reference image. Let's pull these ones down. They're way too tall. So just bring them in. Remember, to go into X-ray view, use Alt Z. And to get out, just press it again. Let's bring back the top view, the reference image. And we're just going to line it up using the top view as well, just to make our life a bit easier. Something like that. Let's add a loop cut. Control R. Just gonna use this to kind of give it a bit more 3D-ness, a bit more fullness. Looking a bit flat. So let's bring these out a little bit, not too much. Let's hide the top views, kind of getting in the way. Oops, you see that? You already know how to fix it, or you should do at least. So A to select all of it, then Alt N, and then click recalculate outside. Alt N is for the normals. So if anything like that happens, just click Alt N. So I scale this along the Y. Give a bit more fullness. Bring these out a little bit as well. And again, when we add the subdivision, it's going to look a lot smoother than now. So kind of just get into something that you like. Don't worry about how it's looking right now. So go back to the top views, bring these out. I'm just going to go around tweaking it until I get something I like, basically. Something I'm happy with. There we go. It's looking a bit wonky along the side. So let me just make sure everything's lined up. So let's bring these up. Okay, maybe we can bring this down just a tiny bit. Again, just play with it till you get something that you're happy with. Something that doesn't look too bad. Let's add another loop cut. Let's rotate that one as well. Bring them down a little bit just so it doesn't get in the way with the other vertices. Let's rotate a bit more. Let me bring it in. I should bring it back out a little bit actually. So to get something like this or something that you're happy with, you can maybe pull this out a little bit. Again, play with it till you're happy with the result. This doesn't look too bad actually. There we go. And I didn't split this part because I thought, you know, it might be a bit complicated. So let me just walk you through it. Just bring these ones out as well. Bring these ones out. About there, something like that. There we go. Kind of check it to make sure it looks good. Let's bring these in. Double press G to slide, by the way. So if you press G once, it will move. It's kind of like a grab and move. If you press it twice, it will slide it. So add a loop cut there. Maybe bring that out a tiny bit. So just turn on the auto smooth, and then let's add a solidify modifier as we did earlier, and then let's add the subdivision surface. Let's just kind of play with this. So it looks pretty good actually. Let me just play with the thickness, something like that. Not too bad. And we're gonna fit this front bit later. Don't worry about that. It's a bit sticking out a bit too much now, so we're gonna do that a bit later. So you get something like this. Let me pull this back a little bit. It's kind of showing a little bit, so I'm gonna move that back just along the X, tiny bit. Let's go shift it to mark sharp. Let's do the same with this top bit. You can see it looks much better now. Let's do the same with these parts too, and the bottom. Here we go. Make this a bit more rounded looking. Good, that looks pretty good. So you get something like this when you're all done, basically. There we go. Looks really good. You can see it lines up with the top view pretty well actually as well. That's always good if everything lines up. So let's move on to the actual toe box. So So let's make this little area here. We're going to duplicate this up. Press P to separate by selection. A, and then we're going to extrude it up to kind of just fill this little area here. Like so. Add loop cuts. We're going to bring these in. And kind of just fill up that space. Okay. And we can add another loop cut right here, just to give us more points to move around. Let's move it in a little bit. So let's select the W shade smooth. Because it looks really good. And we just got to do the same thing for the other side. Obviously I'll just duplicate. I'm not going to do all of it again. But as you can see, it looks really good, really nice. Kind of fits in there pretty well. I'm just checking it right now. I can probably bring this down a little bit. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I kind of like things to look exactly how they look in my head, if that makes sense. So you don't have to do all of this stuff. This is just a bit extra, but I kind of want it to look how I'm picturing it. So I'm gonna play with these a little bit till I get something I like. Something like this. Don't forget to save. So let's press A, Shift D, duplicate, and then flip it along the Y. Let's move that out here. And then let's flip the normals, so Alt N, recalculate outside. Because we want the vertices to be on the outside of the solidify operation, if that makes sense. Just so it's easy to select. And then we're just going to bring all of these in, just like we did earlier. And make sure it fits inside of this little wing area. Just now a little bit. And I feel like I should probably just mark sharp all of these. So let's go Shift E. Let's do the same all the way around. And on the other side too. And you can press Shift R to repeat the last action you did. In this case, mark sharp. That's a quick little shortcut, little tip. Make you go by a lot faster. There we go. I might just add a loop cut here. Gonna help me tweak it a little bit more. It's coming together now, actually. Okay, everything's lining up. I love it when things just line up well. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, not bad, not bad. And now we can move into the actual toe box now, after we're done with that. So let's bring in the top view. Let's select. So we're gonna use the same technique I was used earlier with this lattice object thing, NURBS or whatever. So let's just bring it down along this head, and we're just gonna shape it until we get like the toe box shape, basically. Bring everything back in. Maybe you can scale it up. And let's just play with it, something resembling a toe box. The extending is a lot faster, by the way. That's why I went with it. So let's select all of this and press W to subdivide. That's the only downside to this method. You can't just press Ctrl R to add a subdivision. You have to select the area you want, then W, and then add a subdivision. Which obviously takes a lot longer, but it is what it is. So let's just lift it up a little bit. Something like that. Maybe we can bring it down until it's kind of even looking. Bring it up a little bit. About there, it's not too bad. And we just need to give it a bit more of a curved look. So you can bring this down. Actually, let's bring this outside down because that kind of shortens it a little bit, as you can see. Then we can bring that down. Like so. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Like this after you're done tweaking with it. So I select it, and we're gonna go object, convert to mesh. Obviously I have a shortcut, you can add a shortcut if you want. So I'm gonna select and press Ctrl U. You see there's way too many vertices just like before. So same thing, we're gonna go to the modifiers and add a decimate modifier. And then if you isolate on its own, press Z wireframe so you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like right now. So we're gonna go to unsubdivide, and then let's turn up the iterations. We can probably go a bit higher than this. Yeah, that will do it. Don't worry about those triangles on the back, we're gonna fix that. So let's bring back in, go back to solid view. Let's go into edit mode. Oh, sorry, let's apply it first. There we go, go into edit mode. And then let's fix all of these triangles. So press A and then search up tries to quad. That kind of reduces a little bit. And I'm just going to delete the ones we don't need, all of these edges here. So go to edge select mode by pressing 2 or just selecting on the top there on the left. And we're just going to select these here. So select these and press M to merge them. And let's repeat with all of these. So merge by center. So I'm going to repeat it with everything.
Yeah. 30 on 30 shoot like Steph Curry. Oh, chopper on me is blur.
There we go. So let's extrude this out and kind of keep the flow going basically. I'm gonna join this, and then we can delete this edge in the middle of the face, and then delete that edge. And again, hate when this happens. And then we can select all these 4 points and press F to make a face. There we go. And we can delete these, we don't need them. And then let's delete this zigzag pattern here. Select them and press dissolve edges. Make sure it's dissolved, otherwise the whole mesh will be ruined. There we go. So we can just bring these down basically. Turn on portion editing. Gonna scroll up a little bit and drag that down. There we go. Good. Bring this back. I'm just gonna shape it around basically. Three little edges. And make sure it fits inside this box area. So let's just delete these faces here because we don't need them. And then let's select these 2 points here and press J to join them up. And then we can delete this face here. There we go. And we can just bring these in. Let's move this. Let's rename it toe. Again, rename it whatever you want. And then you could probably just bring it up a little bit. I feel like just some minor tweakings. There we go. That looks pretty good actually. I guess something like this looks really good. There we go. Now we just need to add in the holes. So let's go in top view and let's select the reference image and isolate on its own. And we're just going to bring in a bunch of cylinders, and we're going to use those as a boolean object. So bring in your cylinders, scale them down just to kind of fit a little bit. Let's scale along the Z as well. Might as well do that now. Yeah. The shade is smooth. Go to the normals. You don't have to do this step. I just like how it looks. Let's go into edit mode and duplicate. Remember to duplicate only in edit mode, just to keep it all as one object. You get something like this. Looks pretty good. Bring everything back. Let's bring this down. And just interacting with it, and then we can rotate it a little bit along the Y. Okay, remember you can always edit this. That's what I like about Boolean object. It's non-destructive. So let's select it and let's rename it toe ball. Let's move it into the extras panel. Turn it back on. So select it and then come down here to the yellow tab, object properties, and display as bounds, just to make it easier to see. So let's add a boolean on the toe box. So bool modifier boolean. Let's add the solidify first, actually give it a bit more thickness. There you go. Let's turn it auto smooth. Looks really good. I love when you like press the auto smooth, everything just looks crisp. So yeah, now we can add a ball after this solidify and select the toe ball, just like so. You can see there's lines there a little bit, so let's add a bunch more loop cuts. Basically, the more vertices you have, the better the outcome will be, the more that the ball object has to work with, basically. So let's shade smooth. Let's add a subdivision to it. Looks a bit better, and make sure the subdivision is before the ball, not after. So you have solidify, subdivision, and then ball. The order of your modifiers do matter, by the way. So let's actually put it on top even. Let's see. That's not bad. Yeah, looks pretty cool. So if you see little artifacts like here, there's little lines. That's just the shading, basically, or the normals. So just play with this number till you get something that looks good. Or if you're not bothered, just leave it, I guess. Let's see. Nope. Bring it back down. Let's see the cutoff point. So about there. Yeah, there we go. Let's move this back into the reference images. Just keep everything organized. Let's hide it. Let's save. Don't forget to save. So this is what it looks like so far. This looks great. We're almost there. See, if you want to see how smooth it is, just come up to the render tab, the shading tab. Under matte cap, select this little red thing. Kind of just shows you how smooth everything is. It's a bit more of a shiny material. There you go. So everything is pretty shiny. And if this grid is distracting you, just turn off the overlays, which is over here. So you can see, and this one turns off this little thing on the right. So if they want to be, it's that annoys you. It kind of bugs me sometimes. But let's turn it back on and let's go back to the matte cap to how it was before. Good. Forget to save. Yo. Basically. So you select one side and then the other side. Then we're gonna duplicate it. Shift D, bring that up. Separate. So you want to press P to separate, by the way. So now this. Bring it over here. And let's extrude up. Something like that. Doesn't look too bad. Of course, obviously we can fix that edge area. So let's put all of these back. Let's add a loop cut right in the middle. Let's add a bit more vertices. Let's bring this down too. Why not? Here we go. You get something like this. Again, you can tweak a little bit, kind of pull areas here and there to get something you're happy with. That looks pretty good. Let me edit this part. Let's just line this up with the reference image basically. So I'll just go through lining up. There you go. Now let's add this little loop part. So let's select this, go into edit mode, select this top edge, press Shift D, bring it up, and then press P selection just to separate it, and we can get rid of all of these. So we're just going to turn it into a curve basically. Well, firstly we're going to have to give it the right shape. So just scale it down along the Y, bring it in, the usual, you know. There you go. Now we can convert it into, actually let me bring it down a little bit. Just tweak it to get something that you like. There we go. Let's convert to a curve now. So let's go object, convert to curve from mesh. And then a new panel will pop up, this little green one. So click that. It's the curves object data basically. And then go into geometry. See what's the geometry. And then go down to bevel. And then increase that. And you can see what that does. It makes the life much easier basically, rather than extruding out a cylinder. So once you got that, you can see it looks pretty cool. Let's shade smooth. Like so. Let's go control 1 to add a subdivision. Makes it look a bit nicer. And then of course you can still edit it in edit mode. So just go to edit mode, I'm gonna pull everything down. As you can see, pretty simple. There you go. So to select these edges here, bring them up, and then we're just gonna extrude them down basically. Kind of just carry it on. I think about let's bring these over, something like that. We'll go do the same thing on the other side basically. You get something like this. I'm gonna try bringing some. I don't like how low it is. Actually, make sure it once. Actually, I think that's way too many. I'm gonna just delete some of these. Yeah. And again, you can still taper it. So if you press OS, you can kind of taper it down into whatever size you want, basically. It looks pretty cool. And don't forget to do the same on the other side. So now select it and press W. Oh, sorry, F2. Let's rename it. Rename it to whatever you want. Let's bring in the front view. Just so that we can make the tongue, basically. So just drag it and drop it down. Probably should have, again, this is like the 5th time me saying it. Bring in every single reference image at the same time. I should have done that, but whatever. So make sure it lines up, which it does. And then we're just going to rotate it around. So we're going to get rid of that, hide that. Let's rotate 90 degrees along the Z. And let's go into side view by pressing 3. Let's move it along the Y. Just to check how well it lines up, basically. So it's pretty good. There we go. Got the reference there. So we just got to start modeling then. So let's bring in a plane. There we go. Let me just move this down here a little bit. Scale it down. You know what? Let me just rotate it. Let's rotate along the Y. Let's go into front view so you can see what you're doing a bit better. Just use both the views, basically the front and the side. So let's add a loop cut. So let's scale it down. Let's add a loop cut. There we go. And then here we can just bring these edges up and then extrude it out by pressing Ctrl left click, or just extrude, press E, something like that. There you go. And then we can just bring this over, something like that. There we go. We're just gonna make sure it kind of lines up with the middle of the shoe. So you'll bring this in. Let's bring both sides in and then extrude like one more or two more probably. So let's let this edge extrude out like so, and then we can just bring it down. Turn off portion editing if you need to. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So extrude along the Y and then we can just bring it down. You get something like this. Let's bring it down a little bit more. I might actually just slide these vertices in a little bit. So SX0 just to flatten that along the X basically. Doesn't look too bad. Let's just bring in these sides. So just bring them in along the Y on both sides. Like so. Let's do the same thing on this side too. Just bring those in. Double press G to slide them, to slide the vertices if you don't want to move them. There you go. You can see we're getting there. We're getting the shape almost. Kind of just tweak a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. There you go. I'm just tweaking here and there basically. There you go. Let's extrude one more probably. Actually, let me see. Let's make these little like sections, I guess you could call them. So let's just add a bunch of loop cuts. So 3 loop cuts. So one there. Let's bring this one down a little bit. And then maybe bring this one up a tiny bit. Just select the middle edges basically. So select them and press Ctrl B to add the bevel. You get something like this basically. And then just select the lines in the middle, the edges in the middle. Turn off proportional editing. We're going to bring them in along the X. This will add like a groove effect. So let me just bring this down a little bit. There you go. You get something like this. Press F2. Let's rename it tongue. Don't forget to save. Let me just bring this up a little bit just to keep it curved. Bring these in. I'm just tweaking this a little bit. Not really liking how it's looking. There you go. That's not bad at all. Let's shade it smooth. And then let's add a solidify modifier. Let's just play with it a little bit. Something like that. Add a subdivision. So play with it a little bit. It's somewhere around there. And then let's go to the normals as usual. Just makes everything looks better. There you go. You've got a tongue. Let me just, yeah, mark sharp. Let's do the same on the sides as well. There we go. Then let's select these faces here, holding down Alt and Shift, and we're just gonna bring these out. Not extrude, just press G and bring them out. Turn off portion editing, obviously, and then we just pull them out a little bit. You can see it gives it more of a puffy look, which is what we're going for. There you go, that's the tongue done. Obviously I'm just going to tweak a little bit too. Let's select these, and then we can duplicate them, Shift D, and then separate them. We're just going to use it to make the little Nike logo on the front of the tongue. So you get something like this, and then we're just going to kind of bring it down and add some loop cuts on each side. Curve it around the tongue. There you go, add a bunch of loop cuts like so. You can bring these down a little bit and add some loop cuts in the middle too. Let's add one more. Basically just get into a rectangle shape and make sure it's curved around the tongue. Double press G, slide these down. Let's bring this corner down as well. Go to get something like this. We can rename it tongue logo or whatever you want. There you go. So the only thing left now is the laces, basically. There you go. So let's select this outsole here and let's turn it into a mesh. Okay, so object, convert to mesh, or Control U, whatever your shortcut is. That basically applies all the modifiers in the right order. So you get something like this, and I just want to add a bevel to this outer edge here. But before that, we can bring these in because they're looking a bit sharp right now. There we go. Just get something like this. So far we're almost there. Let's turn off the reference image. Move this into the reference image as well. Again, if you want to move something into a collection, just select and press M and select whatever collection you want. So this is what we got to so far. I'd say it's about 80% done. 89%. Looks pretty cool. So the only thing left is the laces, basically. Before that, so we just need to fix this issue here. As you can see, if I add a subdivision, this is what it looks like. It's kind of messed up a little bit, and some of the corners are rounded off. We want it to be sharp, like over there. So let's go into edit mode. It basically just means this area there is a marked sharp. So if you go OZ and select that little edge, the corner, and then let's go Shift E and slide out, you can see now it's sharp. So that's basically what you want to do. So I'm going to go around and just whatever is curved, I'm going to select it like this, and then just Shift R to repeat the last thing I did, which should be the sharp one. Shift E, and do the same thing with these like circles or semicircles or whatever. See how it's rounded? Just select the edge and Shift E and we'll sharpen it. So yeah, just go around and do that basically. If you applied the bool earlier as part of the whole operation, you should get something like this. You might get a hole. So if you want to turn to something like this, which looks good, this is how you do it. So first of all, let's let this, actually let's link all of this down. So make sure you have a clean-ish topology. So let's join these to the side there, like so. So let's select these two bottom ones and extrude up. So EZ to extrude up. And then select these four and press F to make a face. Let me turn this on. And then press Alt and select all of these here. And let's make a face on the side. Do the same on the other side too. And go to edge select, which is this one, or press 2. And then select all of these edges on the inside. And we're gonna mark sharp. So Shift E, slide out. There you go. Just get something like that. Now when we exit, if you get a little artifact like this, that means this edge just needs to be connected to something else. So select it, press K, and just draw out to like that line on the side. Now when you exit, it should be gone. There you go. But yeah, when you finish, you get something like this, which looks pretty cool. So without the subdivision, this is what it looks like with it. There you go. Let's bring everything back. Cool. Now let's round out this outsole area here a little bit. So let's select this edge here. Let's press Alt right click or left click. Let's go Control B to bevel. Don't worry about the stuff poking through. We're gonna fix that in a minute. Maybe scroll up once or twice. Something like that. And we can just you can just select all of these little pieces sticking out and bring them in with proportion editing. By the way, when you have proportional editing turned on, click the drop down menu and select connected only, so that it only affects the things that are connected to it. So let's select all of these ones. Add a bevel as well. It's a slight one, not as big. Something like that. And I'm gonna just do the same thing all the way around basically. Let's mark these sharp basically. So select these edges, we're gonna mark them sharp. Basically gonna mark every single edge that we want to keep flat, sharp. Because obviously once you add a subdivision, it kind of rounds everything up. So let's add a bevel to this as well. But yeah, it's just gonna go around and then just putting everything purple, pretty much. Don't forget the curves as well. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna speed this part up. I don't think you want to see all of this, to be honest. It's a bit monotonous. Let's edit this here. So just select whatever you think it is that's causing the problem and just bring it back in basically. Just tuck it away behind the midsole. No one needs to see it. Out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, you get something like this at the end of it, which looks great. Now we can make the laces. Finally. After you got everything the way you want it to look basically. So let's bring back the reference image. There we go. Let's go on top view. Let's bring in the top view one as well. It kind of helps if everything's named properly. Let's just move it over. And then I think I'm gonna just use a curve, to be honest. Actually, let's just pull all of this back. I don't like how it's looking. It's not really matching the reference image. Let's just select all these and then we'll kind of just pull them back. Let's go on. Let's add in a curve. Like so. Let's go W, subdivide. And then just like earlier, we're gonna add a bevel to it. Come to the object data property, geometry, bevel, and increase the depth. Something like that. This is basically what we're gonna use to make the laces. So we can taper the ends as well. So let's say extrude one more on the X. And then with it selected, we can press Alt S and scale that down. Now I have like a tapered edge for the laces basically. Again, if you want more control around a certain area, just add a subdivision, basically. So we're gonna use this, wrap it around the shoe, basically, like so. Just pulling points. There we go. Now we can change the shape of the laces as well. So if you hide this, if you bring in a circle, for example, and convert it to a curve, so object, convert to curve from mesh, you really should have a shortcut by now. But yeah, scale it down, and let's maybe bring this in along the Y, right, just to get kind of like a flatter, or more of a lace shape, something like that, so it's not too round, you know. So now select the curve we made for the laces, come down to bevel, click this eyedropper, and then let's select the circle, and you can see how that affects the mesh. Now if we just bring it over a bit closer, you can scale it down about there, and you can edit the way it looks as well. And remember, if you're gonna move something, move it all as a whole. Turn off push editing also. So if you place it here, the only reason I'm placing there just so I can kind of see what I'm doing a bit better. But now if you move certain points, you can see the effects it's having on it. Like so, you can see it just makes you look a bit more realistic, I guess. So I'm gonna go with something like that. You can just rename these laces. Again, F2 to remain anything. There we go. But yeah, that's how you make laces. And obviously you can still tweak it. You can still tweak the lace. But yeah. So now let's add in a quick cylinder for the lace tips. The eyelets, I think they're called. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. Bring it over there. By the way, I think I forgot to record this, but you see the little hoop thing on the tongue? It's literally just a square that I kind of just extruded out. Actually, that'll be a challenge for you lot to make. I'm not going to show you how to make that. How about that? You can actually try to make that yourself and kind of see how you go ahead about doing that, basically. There you go, a bit of problem solving for you. So yeah, let's scale this down to kind of fit, basically. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then simply we can just duplicate it for the other side, and then we're pretty much done. And we're finished. Well, at least the modeling side of things. Still got the materials to do. But yeah, let me just select this. Where is it? The red one. I just love seeing how smooth it is. Look at that. So you should get something similar to this as well if you've been following this closely. Now for this part, it's kind of optional, but I feel like it just makes it look more realistic. So let's start by bringing in a curve, or a path. Sorry, path curve. Let's bring it out, scale it down, and then we're just gonna extrude 2 points from the sides, basically, just to kind of make it a bit more realistic. So we're gonna line it with the reference image, rotate it a little bit. Let's bring it out on the Y. Not that far, I can bring it back in. But yeah, so select the 2 outer points, and then we can extrude those in, like so. Let's just make sure it's still aligned. And then basically just bring in these 2 vertices out to the side. So you get something like this, right? A bit of a curve. And let's just add a bevel to it. Or increase the depth, actually. So you get something like this. You can curve it a little bit more. This will be like one stitch, basically, if that makes sense. And actually, we can probably just add a subdivision here just to make it a bit more of like a right angle, if that makes sense. So just add the subdivision like so, and just make sure everything lines up from the front view as well. Now let's add an array modifier to it. So yeah, there you go. We can kind of play with this a little bit. Let's increase the count, something like that. And we're just gonna add a curve, basically curve modifier, and curve it around the shoe. So let's rename it stitch midsole, just to know which one it is. There we go. You can bring that up a little bit, maybe bring it out along the Y, something like that. And let's select the midsole, come in, and you're just gonna select the vertices in the middle of this kind of crease. So ton of subdivision so you can see what you're doing, and select all of it. Let's go Shift D to duplicate, and then P selection to separate. P is separate basically. So we're gonna scale along the Y, the part we just duplicated out and separated. And let's add a curve modifier to this, and let's convert the part we separated into a curve. There we go. Make sure it's selected. Let's move it out so we can see it. So we're going to choose that as our curve object basically. And don't worry about how it's looking right now, we can fix that easily. Just press G and bring it in. So we're bringing it a little bit like that. Let's select both of them and we can bring them over. Something like that. Obviously let's bring them up. It's not really in the right location, is it? Oh, I hate when this happens. I'm trying to select the curve and the object. Okay. So yeah, like I said earlier, let's bring them up a little bit, just so it's in the middle of this crease. There we go. And then let's just play with the array till we get something that we like. So let's increase the numbers. There we go. Actually, let's 46, and then just play with the X value until it kind of lines up to whatever you like. Let's increase this back up. Okay, maybe play with it a little bit more. So 51, let's play with this. Let's go 0.35. 4. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. That looks a bit more even, doesn't it? See this part sticking out here? Just select the curve and then just bring them in. You can put it in front as well, just so you can see a little bit better. And now we can just edit it. Just bring all the points in. So you get something like this basically. Looks pretty cool. Pretty much finished, to be honest. That's like the whole shoe modeling side. So we can move this curve into the extras like so. There we go. And let's just add stitching to all the other areas. Again, you don't have to do this. This is completely optional, but I feel like it just looks better. But again, use the same techniques earlier. So make a stitch and then make a curve, and then just use the curve to curve around the shoe basically. And you should be done. Alright guys, that's the end of part 3. Thank you a lot for watching. Also, thank you for 300 subscribers again. Let's try to get 500 next. So if you enjoy, leave a like, comment, and all that, and I'll see you in the next part.
I might give a Glock to my sister, cause it's a dirty world.